Well, welcome to the programme. Glad you could join us here on Sheffield Live TV, live on a Thursday night as usual. The studio's had a bit of a makeover. We've got a little bit of new furniture in the studio this evening. All will be revealed and explained as we go along. Sitting on the very old furniture, the sofas, or the sofa over there tonight, two guests, one of whom makes a debut. He's an executive with Sheffield City Council, and more to the point, he's the guy that's driving the agenda when it comes to Sheffield, well, in my words previously and many times and sometimes critically, when it comes to Sheffield shouting louder and doing more than it has done in the past about its unique football heritage as the home of football. Well, this guy's very serious about that. He's the head of Sheffield City Libraries. You might think that title isn't significant, but it actually is. And he's got his foot on the ball, believe me. It's a very warm welcome to Nick Partridge.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in, and thank you for bringing this lot in. There's a lot of stuff here. It's not just that trophy. There's a lot of history in the studio tonight, including the manager of Hallam FC, Craig Denton, who's heading for some history-making exploits himself, dare I say. It's good to see you, Craig. It's great to see all the attendances that you're pulling in at Sandygate, which, of course, is the world's oldest ground. And we'll be talking to you in the due course about how on earth you've managed to score 99 goals from your 31 games, including friendlies this season, which is fantastic. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Let's kick off though with Nick. Working for Sheffield City Council as you do, how do you feel and how do your colleagues feel when people like me say, if this was somewhere else in the country, the city would be shouting about it. Sheffield's not doing enough to celebrate football. What do you say to that?
Well, in some ways I have to agree, and that's why I'm doing what I do as head of libraries and archives. And the archives is important because it's the history of Sheffield's unique position in the start of the world's favourite sport that I want to celebrate. And it was a number of years ago when I took up the post. I was fortunate enough to attend an author event which we hold in all our libraries. This one was by Martin Westby, a historian, and that's his book, which is A History of Sheffield Football, 1857-1889, which he researched partly in our local studies library as well to find out about the early teams in Sheffield. And so I went along to Chapeltown Library and I sat there just to sort of, in the audience. I thought, this is quite interesting, not knowing much about football history. And I was blown away by all the things that this city has done for the world's favourite sport. And he put the same challenge. Why aren't we doing anything more about it, Nick? Nick, when he knew that I was the head of libraries, why aren't you doing more?
So he came and knocked on your door.
Exactly.
And the rest, as they say, is history. And of course, Martin Westby very, very sadly left us very prematurely. And I know that a lot of your efforts and indeed a lot of the publicity that your campaign receives will be dedicated to the memory of Martin Westby, who did so much for the city's football. Before I come back to Nick on a historic document that we can show you in close-up, how acutely aware are you as manager of the club that plays on this, not the oldest club of course, that's Sheffield FC, but you're there week in, week out as manager?
It's fantastic. I think Hallam Football Club, the world's oldest ground, and again I don't think we shout about it enough, to be honest, but yeah, it's fantastic history. Again with Sheffield Football Club as well, we just need to shout about it a little bit more, and I think with everybody getting involved and coming out and talking about it, I think it's going to really kick it on and push on.
Well, we'll hear about how Nick intends to shout more about it as the programme goes on. There are some plans, some things that you may not have heard of before, but before we do that, we're going to have a look at a historic document or a page from a journal from 1857. Now, Sir Nathaniel Creswick was one of the co-founders of football itself here in Sheffield. Now, this is now in the city's possession, this journal, proving that football was first played right here in that same year. Now we're going to have a look at the key words, because I can't read that. I can't decipher what's said on that page. But if it was my handwriting, you wouldn't be able to tell either. So let's just home in on the key. There we are. The key sentence in the middle of that from Sir Nathaniel Creswick is, quote, "I have established a football club to which most of young Sheffield come and kick." That says it all, doesn't it?
It does. Sheffield FC, 1857, oldest football club in the world, still playing. It's absolutely amazing that this city still holds that heritage. Hallam FC, 1860, playing at the oldest ground and still playing. The oldest derby game between those two teams. And that piece of historical evidence is now in the City Archives' possession, and we're going to use it as a centrepiece for our Sheffield Football Archive.
And that authenticates everything, really, that you can display that. Of course, you knew of its existence.
Yes, Geoffrey Norton, who's I think he's the great-grand nephew of Nathaniel Creswick, has had it in the family for many years, inherited it, and obviously knew of the journal, and then he's been researching, looking at it, and established that's talking about Sheffield FC. We always knew that he was a co-founder of Sheffield FC. He's actually buried at Healy Church, and we've now got a plaque against that headstone, or that tombstone, to commemorate that, which is something that we've done recently in the last few years to try and, make people aware that actually this great person, or one of the great people in the founding of football in this city, is celebrated, and that piece of archival documentary evidence is, that's it. It's indisputable. It's there, and it's of great historical interest both to the city and worldwide.
Yeah, because just occasionally some upstart will come along and say, no, Sheffield football wasn't born in Sheffield, it was born somewhere else. And I know Martin Westby had this many times, and he had to keep batting them off, didn't he?
Well, I think Martin and his oppo or co-conspirator, if I can still put it on this, John Wilson, have done an amazing job in terms of the academic proof. They've been to the National Football Museum, where they were holding an academic historic papers, and they presented, and it was undisputed that actually, if you look at all the number of firsts that occurred in this city, it's indisputable that this is the crucible in which the great game was forged.
You've got loads of firsts written on a sheet or a diagram or
I don't know what this is something that
can't
John
read that, but
can't. But it just shows you some of those firsts, and this is something that John Wilson produced from Sheffield University a number of years ago. It was on a mug.
No.
But,
there's also a photograph here that you may glimpse, and we'll give you a closer look at that a little bit later on. I think it's reputed to be the first football team photograph ever taken.
In a newspaper, I think it was produced. Yeah.
And we'll have a closer look at that. It's like a treasure trove here. Yeah. Plus, we'll be identifying that piece of silverware. In fact, we didn't even know it was silverware until just before the show. We thought it was pewter, and there's a hallmark.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have said that, should we? Because
I'll come to that in a minute. Why it's so special that we actually protect this heritage. Right. This was a cup that was presented to us. It's the Minor Challenge Cup from 1883, which was for second teams to play each other. Basically, it was first won by Healy, the oldest faith-based team in the world, Healy Church, in 1883. And John Wilson was talking to David Slater, who has a library, the old Attercliffe Library, which is a cafe that David owned, and they're talking about the heritage of football. He said, "Yeah, I've got an old cup here, and it was behind the bar, and it got some pound coins in it and whatever." And he says, "Well, yeah, you can."
1883.
1883.
God, we'll have a closer look at it later. Loads of records going out. Another topic that we'll come to is the incredible crowds that have over the years that have attended games at Sandygate. I'm sorry, Craig, many times more than your team is drawing at the moment, but your crowds are remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
They're unbelievable. I mean, it's so nice for the players, to have, the cliche of the 12th man and spurring them on. But it's brilliant. It's brilliant for the football club as well, for the local community. I mean, Hallam, the volunteers at the football club, the social media team, you know, the chairman, the vice chairman, everyone connected, are just trying to get as many people involved with the football club. And I think that's what makes it so, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, Sheffield United fan, you know, if you're just a bit of a non-league blogger, you can go to Sandygate.
I've come across fans of both the Blades and the Owls down there and in casual conversation, and they've said to me, I'd rather come here than go to Hillsborough or Bramall Lane. And that's not just one or two. I've heard people say that.
Well, you can see that with obviously the increase of the attendances on, I think, a Saturday tour back, it was like 650 odd, you know, attendance, which is absolutely unbelievable for the Northern Counties Division 1. But I've spoken to a lot of supporters who, you know, maybe season ticket holders, and they actually come, and the forefront is not always the result.
No.
You know, a lot of clubs I've been involved in non-league, you know, it's about winning. You know, for me as a manager, I want to win every game, but I think from supporters at Hallam, as long as they're coming, they're enjoying a good game of football, being entertained, you know, £5 to get in, you know, you can get a couple of pints and a pie, and you're under £20. Whereas, you know, if you look at going to, you know, Hillsborough or Bramall Lane, you're going to be paying a lot more than that. I just think it's value for money going to Sandygate.
And there's an identity. People can identify with those who run it at board level, as it were, and yourself or whatever. I think when I first went to Sandygate out of curiosity, and I thought I've got to fill in gaps in my education here, and I've been too busy until about 7 or so years ago. I think the crowd was about 86. And 656 now, and you're regularly getting over 500. That is an incredible turnaround. Nick, on the spot time then, you agree that Sheffield should do more to shout about and celebrate its heritage. So what are you doing?
Great, thank you. Well, once Martin had convinced me that we needed to do more, he introduced me to a number of other people, John Wilson being one of them, Councillor Anne Murphy as well, and Sheffield, the Home of Football as an organisation which encompasses all the 4 clubs in Sheffield, has been doing a lot to promote that over many years. But it came together really when I joined them as a trustee with Martin and John and Anne, and we put together this strategy document, which is actually the Home of Football strategy, which John and his team up at the Sheffield University Management School put together, and it really nails down why Sheffield is the home of football and what we can do as a city. There's 40 or so suggested topics or actions and commitments that we wanted people to take forward, and we launched this in March 2020.
I was there at the launch, and then what happened?
Yes, we had. I was so pleased that we did it. We were questioning whether to do it. It was the 4th or 5th. We had the leader of the council there. You know, we had Richard Caborn there. We had everybody saying, right, we've got to do something about this, and obviously what happened, we all know, the pandemic came along, and we've had to react and respond to that as a council, as a city, and we're doing that, and we're coming out of that. But we need something to hook onto to take us out of where are we going post-pandemic, and Sheffield has this unique position, this unique history.
So what is likely to happen that's new that will commemorate what we're talking about now?
Well, the thing that we committed to, because we'd had success with a walking app, which I developed with Martin and John, based on his books about the places in Sheffield where those first games were played. You know, we talked about B&Q down on Queen's Road was the first place Wednesday played, you know, Olive Grove and around there. And there's many more in the town centre in terms of where the clubs were forged, you know, formed in terms of signing their articles of creation, plus also the rules, which were written in 1858 at the Adelphi, which is where the Crucible is now. So we decided that we'd have a Football Treasures Day to celebrate 160 years of it, and that was back in 2018. And we had Dan Walker come and open it, and we had 2,000 people come through the doors on that day, and all the silverware from all the clubs, and Martin curated it, and said, let's not just make this a one-off. You know, people were hungry for this information. Yeah. Let's make it a bit more permanent. So we've decided that we're going to create a space in our central library, in our local studies, called the Football Archive. It was something that Martin was passionate about, to display that information about the firsts that happened in Sheffield, the timeline, why it's indisputable that so many things happened in this city. So that's what we've done. We've created a display in local studies. It's up there now. you know, people can come and see. We want to do more. We're going to ask people, visitors, what more would they like to see? Would they like to see more silverware? Would they like to see more, you know, fans paraphernalia, you know, and ephemera and things like that. And so we're actually creating what we call the Sheffield Football Archive, and alongside it, we've also going to create a football library. So we were contacted by a couple of guys from The Great Save, Roger Titford and Jeff Wicken, who were looking. They came up with this idea: the National Football Library. Where is it? Where, you know, where can you go? You can go to the National Football Museum. There's items, you know. And they heard what we were doing about the Football Archive, and they said, look, you know, there's loads of people with a lot of books and reference books and things. There's such a lot about football. Wouldn't it be great if people come to the Football Archive, see your history, and then they can go and see or read a book and find information? So they've been instrumental in pushing us along to say, actually, why don't we create a football library as well as a football archive?
And that's the target, to create a football library which could become a national football library. And there's a hookup with the esteemed football magazine, iconic really, When Saturday Comes.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you've got a couple there of editions. In fact,
the first one.
1986,
That's right, 1986, March 1986.
And
When
this
Saturday
one,
Comes.
dated?
This is the latest one. So this is one of my gang just went out and bought this, December 2021.
December 2021. That's not an up-to-date picture of Neil Warnock.
No, I don't think so. Neil Warnock's down at the bottom.
He was 73 yesterday, I think.
But the reason I brought this was because Sheffield is still playing a key part. Sheffield Warnock, it's about his county days, but obviously, you know, Sheffield United, and we know all the managers for the Sheffield still plays a massive role in the evolution of this thing that we call football. So, the Great Save guys have donated a full copy, a full catalogue of these 400 of them, which we're going to have to catalogue and make available to people and whatever. But that's what we do in libraries. You know, we make information available. It happens to be about football.
It's nice that it's a tangible library rather than an online library or something like that. There's somewhere to visit.
We've got to have both. We've got to have both because, and we are developing a website for the Football Archive. And we've actually, this is one of the things that Martin said, we have a lot of documentary evidence which needs preserving digitally. So we have got a new digital scanner coming. So we will become a place where people with collections could come and have that information scanned, and depending on copyright and permissions and things, we could then make those available so people can research them worldwide. So we become a centre of research about football and the history of football as well.
And so it should be. A couple of sort of grander things. The Sheffield Star newspaper had a great story which was warmly acclaimed. This was maybe 2 or 3 months ago, a couple of months ago anyway, about the possibility of the John Lewis store becoming a football museum. Where does the council stand on that, and any involvement from the council in that possibility? Because there's some interest, isn't there, in the building?
Well, that item in the Star came out of the blue for most of us. We in Shoff didn't know about that, Sheffield Home of Football, and we cast around for other people. So it didn't originate within the city, but it was positioned by this big organisation. I think it was an American sports brand. We didn't know, nobody's declared who it is. It was presented to the city alongside many other options for that building. I'm not in that particular area of the council. I've got some views about how we can, take things forward.
What are your personal views on that?
I think we want to celebrate, Sheffield as the home of football. If somebody from the outside the city has come and said, actually, we could do this or whatever, that shows that there's a worldwide interest. We know there's a worldwide interest in this because of, FIFA celebrating Sheffield FC. It's only two clubs have ever got the medal d'or, Real Madrid being the other one and Sheffield FC. I mean, that's an amazing accolade for the city.
It's just also there's a commercial proposition that's attractive for, if it's American investors, for instance, they're not doing it purely because they love football, are they? They're seeing that. And Sheffield's been accused of not seeing the commercial appeal of this. So maybe there's a tie in there as well. I don't know.
I think that building has a number of different propositions, and I think as far as the council is concerned, it's got to go through an evaluation of its state. You know, it's not a new building. There's lots of other options, and I know there's going to be a public consultation in the new year about that.
But you're open to it?
I'm certainly open to presenting the Sheffield home of football in a visitor's attraction somewhere in the city. What I'm doing in the library is, if you like, a proof of concept. You know, people. If you build it, people will come, and I think people will come. But they did come to the Football Treasures Day, and I think they will come, and we will ask them what else do they want, and then we can actually show that there is interest in this as a bigger football visitor attraction.
Yeah.
And I think whether it's in that space or another space, I think, you know, there is a need for us to have somewhere. We were challenged in Sheffield Home of Football by a visitor economy person in the council. What is there in Sheffield to come and see if you're, you know, if you're a visitor who want to come to the Home of Football? What do you see on a wet Wednesday afternoon? You know, where's
would
the place?
you go? What would you do?
Might go to the Legends of the Lane, you know, Bramall Lane, and I'm sure, you know. But actually, you know, where in the city do we celebrate our heritage?
Yeah.
You know, you go anywhere else, and there's statues. You know, we created the crossbar. You know, why haven't we got an exhibit which is a crossbar where people can come and have their selfies?
Why,
you know,
why isn't there a big goal over the M1 or the exit?
Yeah,
a stainless steel goal.
Yeah.
Why isn't there a stainless steel football in the city or on the outskirts of the
Well,
city?
you know all the stainless steel
Why?
balls in St Paul's. You know, why haven't we got a soccer one of those?
Welcome to the home of football.
Is there a reason why that's? Because it's such a simple idea, and I can't believe that funding is would be an obstacle to it. Perhaps it is. I don't know. It's not your department, that is it? Really. No. We'd better kick that one out of play. Craig, as we close towards half time here, and there's plenty more to discuss in the second half. Do you know, I got my abacus out last night because you had yet another high-scoring win by 4-0 away from home at Ollerton. And I went through and I calculated that you scored 99 goals in your 31 games this season. Now, I'll throw it at you because you'll know for sure whether I'm right or wrong or have miscounted, won't you?
Yeah, it's about 99. Yeah, something like that.
But you're not sure, are you?
No, no, I've not counted every single goal from our pre-season friendlies. But yeah, we're scoring in the opposition goal, which is always is the best thing to do.
How do you account for that phenomenon?
Yeah, we've got some really good technical players who have played at leagues above Division 1 and the Northern Counties, and when they're on fire, they're on the front foot and they.
Are you going to keep all these guys?
Well, I hope so. Yeah, as most of the players I've had at previous clubs, so I'm quite loyal. I'm quite a loyal manager, and the players are quite loyal to somebody who's loyal to them, if that sort of makes sense. So yeah, hopefully keep hold of them. We're right up there in the league, so I can't see them jumping anywhere else.
You told me that you never look at the league table. Now, plenty of managers have told me that over the years, and I've never believed any of them. You're second. You knew that anyway.
Yeah.
You are second in the league, and you've got a goal difference of plus 55, which, even over a whole season would be ridiculous. But you should be top. You should be way ahead.
We should be.
Top
Yeah, we should be top. We've lost against a couple of teams in and around us where if you want to win a league, you need to beat. But we're scoring goals and we're making it really entertaining for the supporters, which is all that counts.
Scoring goals for fun. This has been fun. My name's Alan, he's Partridge, so we had to get things like that in. Do rejoin us in a few minutes. We'll be talking about this trophy, among other things. There's so much more to discuss about Sheffield football. See you then.